some founders in the wellness space. I really like the title of this, Healing Profits. I like how that sounds. I like healing and I like profits. So this is Healing Profits, crafting a wellness business that flourishes. We're going to dive into some strategies and insights to build a successful enterprise in the wellness industry. So we're going to bring up our moderator, Ashley Wisdom, with Health in Her Hue. Come on up. Y'all give it up. Make some noise. Thank you so much. And our founders, Dr. Joy Cooper, Postal Petals. I'm sorry, Dr. Joy Cooper. I'm not. Okay, awesome. Give me 1 second. I want to go ahead with Miss Talia Boone with Postal Petals. Come on up. I've got Daryl Bigelow with A Walking Vibe. All right, come on up, Dr. Joy Cooper. Looking fabulous. Thank you so much. All right, you guys, enjoy your panel.
Good afternoon, everyone. Hey, Essence audience. Thank you for coming to today's panel titled Healing Profits, Creating a Wellness Business That Flourishes here on the SoCo Market stage. So I'm really excited today to be in discussion with 3 amazingly brilliant founders of wellness companies, and I'm excited for them to share about their companies so that we can learn about them and support them. And so today our panel includes Ms. Talia Boone, the founder of Postal Petals, as well as Daryl Bigelow, the founder of A Walking Vibe, and Dr. Joy Cooper, the founder of Culture Care. And so before we get into our discussion, I'm going to give each of them the opportunity to introduce themselves, the name of their company again, as well as one sentence about your company, and then also what's one of your wellness rituals?
So again, my name is Talia Boone. I am the founder and CEO of Postal Petals. We are an immersive floral and wellness company that uses fresh cut flowers and do-it-yourself flower arranging as a tool for creative expression, also self-care, mindfulness, and therapeutic practice. And my method of self-care is actually flower arranging.
My name is Daryl Bigelow. I am the owner and CEO of A Walking Vibe. We host health and wellness events for universities, more importantly HBCUs, to make sure that they have access to resources for health and wellness. So we do yoga, we'll do fitness, we might do journal writing, we'll also do sound bowls, and we also host retreats for these students. Oh, and my wellness ritual is journal writing.
Hi, I'm Dr. Joy Cooper. I am an OBGYN by trade, but I am also co-founder and CEO of Culture Care. It's a telemedicine platform that's connecting Black women, Black doctors with second opinions. We're the cost of a copay, and we're currently in 3 states and trying to get to 50. My wellness ritual is saying no and creating boundaries.
I love that, Dr. Cooper. All right, so I'm actually going to start with Daryl, since you're the only gentleman on the panel today.
Shout out to the guys.
What inspired you to start your venture?
Well, I actually my back was to the wall. I was at a 9-to-5, and I found myself not having purpose there. So I ended up finding myself in a stairway, like literally crying, and I quit that job that day, and I just thought about like what happened in my childhood, and I just thought about all the things that happened towards my life, and I was bullied as a child. So at the time then, I was just thinking about who actually was building my confidence, and the only person was my mother. So in essence, I started a yoga company, but I was more yoga clothes, and then I needed a community to go with. So I started to host events in Charlotte, North Carolina, and then that actually made me think about, well, not only events, I need to start where I actually came from and where I found my community, which was college. So I went to Winston-Salem State University, go Rams, and I just pitched them and asked them, like, will y'all be interested in having a health and wellness events there? And they was like, yes. So that just started building me going to all different other SUCUs, and that's where it came from.
And how has your journey been so far?
It's been unbelievable, from the people to the community, just finding people's purpose and inspiring them to do well, and just understanding like this is just not one-time thing. You have to find your purpose on what you want to do in life. And I think that's what we're trying to inspire to these students, and not only the students, people as well, the staff. We had cops come to our yoga event, so I think that's where most of the stuff we think about in building a community.
Love that. Dr. Cooper, moving on to you, what inspired you to start Culture Care, and how has your entrepreneurial journey been thus far?
So Honestly, I'm an OBGYN, and I realized that impact is not going to come from the exam room because it's just one person at a time, and it's any place that I have to physically be. I made culture care because I realized the wellness part of healthcare is not really there, and to use the words of Maya Angelou, you won't remember people did or what they said, but you remember how they made you feel, and that's really what we try to do at culture care is make people feel heard, feel that they deserve good care, and actually deliver on that care. And so for me, I realized we weren't doing that in my traditional job, so I was like, what if we made this great platform, and it feels great as an entrepreneur to, especially come to a place like Essence where, we say black women are a demographic and people don't get that black women want certain things in healthcare and not what we've been delivered before. But it feels so validating to come here because these are the women. You guys are who really matter, and you are who can change what happens to us. So thank you for your support and coming to our booth.
Thanks, Dr. Cooper. And Talia, what inspired you to build your company, and also how has your entrepreneurial journey been thus far?
Yeah, so I was not planning to start a floral wellness company at all. I was fully fulfilled with running the agency that I was running at the time, but I was inspired, really it was needs meet action, right? I had started arranging flowers as a hobby many years ago. It became my go-to form of self-care during the early days of the pandemic when I needed self-care the most. I couldn't get access to flowers, and it sent me on a journey to find someone that could ship me bundles of fresh cut flowers that I could arrange myself. And I couldn't find them. It just didn't exist. And as most black women, when you see something needs to get done and doesn't exist, you just say, okay, forget it, I'll do it myself. And that's the very short version of what happened. It was, I needed something, it didn't exist, and so I decided to create it so that I could have access to it, and I figured if I wanted it, other people would want it as well. And so I came up with the concept of Postal Petals in the first week of May 2020, and by the end of July 2021, the end of July that same year, 4 months later, we launched Postal Petals in beta with almost 20 farm partners signed up to ship for us. We ship nationwide. We're based in Los Angeles. We ship everywhere except for Hawaii and Alaska, which we'll probably have those two locked in by the first quarter of next year.
So just building on that, can you share, has there been like a real pivotal moment in the trajectory of your business so far that's really kind of catapulted, or anything that happened that kind of changed your pathway on building your business?
You know what, honestly, there's been many, right? Because when I started it, like I said, it was started out of need, and it was something that I wanted fresh flowers to arrange, so I created something because I thought other people would want it. It wasn't until I let myself be vulnerable enough to put it into the marketplace and see the way that people were actually experiencing it that I realized that there were several other use case opportunities. It wasn't just consumers wanting to arrange flowers. That led to, we watched the way that consumers were using our product. We listened to their feedback, and then we started to do workshops, both virtual and in-person workshops. And then that led to corporate people reaching out to us, and that helped us realize that, there's an opportunity for us in the B2B space. We should be doing corporate workshops and corporate team building activities. Then that led to me asking the corporations, because they started reaching out to us. And then I said to them, hey, how did you find out about us? And they were like, our health insurance provider told us about you. I said, can I get their name and their number? And I called them. And I was like, hey, what made you reach out? And that's what got us on the whole healthcare piece. So we just kind of have followed threads along the way. And so because we've been so sensitive to listening to the people that experience our products, we've gotten really good at learning who our audience is and listening at the ways in which we need to pivot. And so paying attention in that way has really been instrumental in our growth.
So this panel is titled Healing Profits. And so I want to throw the question at you, Dr. Cooper, first, and then Daryl or Talia, if you want to answer it, please feel free to jump in. How do you balance the passion? Clearly you all are passionate about what you're building. How do you balance your passion for wellness while also having to, grapple with the reality of building a sustainable business, which means having to think about finances?
So I guess the way I've kind of tried to change around profits is seeing them as impacts. I want to impact the most amount of people, and hopefully we've structured our business so that it's profitable pretty quickly, but the more patients we see, that means the more impact. And so it's just a different way of acting. Investors will say to you like, oh, okay, how many people have you served? But for me, if it's small, it's because I want to do more, and I always will want to do more. And so I think it's really trying to figure out what is the underlying reason you created your business. Like we all talked about why we started them, but trying to make sure that that's actually what is what the patients talk about, or what people who are impacted by our work talk about is the actual impact. And if it leads to money, great, because I think for-profit businesses are important because that's how we tell the others what matters. You know, using your dollars to go towards Black-owned businesses like these that are in the wellness space tells everyone else you're invested in your wellness.
I love that you said that because I think sometimes people think that when you're building a company or a business that's geared towards Black people or people of color, that it has to be a nonprofit organization. And that's no shade to nonprofits. Some organizations are best suited to be built in that, in that way. But we can build businesses for us, by us, and it generate a profit and financial returns.
Yeah, because I believe, I mean, two things can be true at the same time, right? You could be doing good for people and also making money. There's such a thing as social entrepreneurship, and if I'm being honest, that's really what I consider Postal Petals to be. You know, we are absolutely a for-profit company. I make no qualms about the fact that we're a small business, but I didn't start a small business to stay a small business. I'm absolutely looking to drive revenue and grow this company into a medium and ultimately a large business. But in doing that, my goal is to build enough resources so that I can go back and actually serve my community. So when we're doing free community wellness events, and teaching people about, flower arranging as a tool for attainable forms of wellness and self-care for my people and my community, I'm not able to do that without generating revenue. And so I think it's important for us to get out of that mindset of, if we're going to be helping people, that there has to be some sort of poverty or nonprofit element to it, that the two can coexist. They absolutely can.
And I think, honestly, just not being taken advantage of. We build these companies and we build and understand like who we are talking to. But if you are working on a deal and you're working on a sponsorship and these people are throwing big money at you, it has to make sure that it has to make sense. And just not taking any deal and just not showing that they want a 2% or 3% of your equity, but making sure that you have that access and making sure that you're understanding what the deal is about. And we understand that, building the companies is for profit, but the person just has to be the right fit for us.
I love that. Thank you for sharing that, Durham. So Talia, we talked about wellness. We were in the green room. We were talking about some of the trends that you've seen, about how our white counterparts think about wellness compared to Black women. Can you talk more about some of the consumer trends that you're seeing as it relates to the wellness space generally, and then specifically to that point that we were discussing?
Yeah, I mean, it really helps to. Thank you for asking that question, because I think it's really important for people to even understand how you even get to the process of saying, how did you decide that DIY flower arranging was for wellness, right? It's just looking at the data. And the data shows, particularly during the pandemic, there was an 80% increase in searches for DIY, a 250% increase in searches for self-care activities, right? Over 40 million Americans report having some sort of mental health issue during and since the pandemic, right? So there's all this data that shows that people are, you add it all up together and you analyze it, it really ultimately shows that people are looking for engaging, effective, immersive self-care solutions. And quite frankly, DIY flower arranging meets that need quite perfectly. And so when you're talking about how that applies to kind of the conversation we were having in the back, really, which is about the way that Black women traditionally will view things like self-care and wellness versus the way our white counterparts is it's to say that for a lot of us, unfortunately, in the Black community, we are so used to the hustle and grind culture because we have to do what we have to do to keep our heads above water, that we really look at self-care and wellness as more of a luxury than we do as a necessity, right? And so what I was sharing with them backstage is when we started to look at the data, we saw that words like self-care, words like wellness really sprang more true. And this is not true for everyone. We're not a monolith. I'm just talking about what the data has shown us, that words like self-care and wellness really resonate more with white women, and that when you're talking to Black women about reaching the same conclusion, you need to use language like retreat, recover, things that acknowledges the struggle and the need for some sort of reprieve and some sort of rest from it. And I think that's a lot of where, when you're looking at data, both it being general market data and also culturally specific data, because you have to be really careful because for me, obviously our solution is for everyone, right? But I'm Black and I care about Black people unapologetically. If you notice, if you're looking on our website, if you're looking at our social media materials, everyone in our imagery has to be melanated. On our social media, when we're talking about skin tones, the skin tones, if it's not 3 or 4 or 5, it ain't on my page. And it's because I am looking to center Black people. I'm looking to center people of color, especially in the conversation around wellness, because we're so used to being othered that you need to be able to see yourself in the experience of self-care and wellness.
That is such a perfect segue into my next question, and I'm going to throw it at Daryl first, and then I definitely want to hear from Dr. Cooper and you, Talia, about how you all approach marketing and branding for your companies. I love the name Postal Petals. I love a walking vibe. I love culture care. I think it encapsulates exactly what the business is trying to accomplish. So yeah, can you tell me how you approach marketing and branding when it comes to your company?
So when I approach our marketing, we actually survey our students in understanding what type of needs that they're looking for. So if they're using Fitbits, are they using typical apps on their phone? What actually are they using so we can actually meet them right where they are? So if I'm surveying a student and they be like they were using a Fitbit or watch, let's reach out to the Fitbit company and be like, hey, we're reaching X amount of students. This is the people that you need to be in front of. Use our audience, and we can use you as well to form a partnership or a sponsorship deal. And I think understanding that from that perspective allows us to be like, okay, this is allowing us more students to understand where they're coming from.
So at Culture Care, we're a little bit unique because we don't use health insurance. So it's direct to consumer. People are paying the cost of a copay to see our doctors. And so that means they're coming out of pocket. And so for us, our marketing has really been trying to make what we are just up there with luxury, Black girl luxury. So we have this saying, Black girl luxury means healthcare, because you invest, you'll get a facial, you'll get your hair braided. We invest in how we look on the outside, but we also should be investing in how we feel and looking at we're healing on the inside. And so we're trying to do a lot of marketing around making Black women see that to take care of yourself, through healthcare and have someone who looks like you, that is a luxury, but that's a luxury you deserve and that you should be able to have access to. So that's what we do a lot of our marketing around.
So for me, this is the thing that with DIY flower arranging that we've really kind of come up against with marketing, right? Like, the thing is that typically most new companies have two main obstacles that they face when they are entering the marketplace for the first time. First, it's name recognition, right? Just letting people know that you exist. The second is why they would choose you over the other, which is typically a Pepsi versus Coke type of comparison. For us, we have a third really unique obstacle, which is why would I want to use your product at all? And that's because flowers, traditionally people are so conditioned to utilize flowers as a ready-to-use product, when we are saying, no, we want to evolve that relationship from a ready-to-use product to an interactive wellness and self-care experience. And so there's a lot of educating that we have to do around helping people understand the benefits. So the reason I can give you all this data is because we stay in the numbers. We have to stay very much aware of the way that trends are working, the way that people are engaging with things like self-care, nature, the way they're thinking about self-care, the way they're thinking about wellness, the way they're thinking about all those elements that really, and how we can adjust our messaging to meet them exactly where they are, because I consider us to be the ultimate candy in the medicine of self-care, right? It's this thing of people, I always say we may not all like the same flowers, but you're gonna find it very hard pressed to find someone that doesn't like the flowers at all, right? It's very, very rare. And so if we could use flowers as that point of entry, we use that and then kind of build that message from there, if that makes sense.
So shifting gears a bit, I have another question I'm going to give to you, Dr. Cooper, and then feel free, Talia or Daryl, to jump in. Has there ever been a time when you've had to pivot your business or innovate in any way to better meet the needs of your consumers?
So time is limited amongst everyone. And the other part of our market is serving Black doctors and making sure they're able to serve our patients, because all of our doctors do this as a side hustle because they care about the community. And really it's been trying to leverage group care over individual one-to-one, because again, we're trying to maximize impact and also maximize people's time. And so for us, we really want to make Black doctors ubiquitous. And so one way that you can have multiple touch points with the Black doctor is if you have a group virtual visit as opposed to just a one-on-one. So really just trying to make sure we can stretch, everybody's time and everybody's ability to impact, because, even these small, even with the four of us plus everybody else, like, you give that to some people and then they take it to others. And so we're still infusing the same information into the group, but just more efficiently.
Yeah, and I think pivoting for us, we had to understand where we were at, where we were going, but we had to implement some new programs to us. So for us, for our one-time for going on campus would be a one-time fee, and then we also have a 3-month program where we'll do a wellness fair. We might do a trauma-informed workshop talking how to get, covering the Band-Aids, but allowing the Band-Aid to bleed, but understanding that these people are trauma and just understanding that particular nuance. And then also a retreat, like you were speaking before, and a 3-month retreat, and just understanding, like taking these kids out, having a journal, sound bath, maybe an arts and craft issue. But that's where we had to pivot and understanding, like, this is where we're going to our next realm, but being sustainable as well. And just making sure that these students ambassadors, so our sustainability will be making sure these students go into these programs, but also giving them a scholarship after the 3-month program and allowing them to be, hey, this money can give you to be a yoga instructor. These people can be a financial advisor. They can be a physical therapist. So that's where our program had to be sustainable and making sure that we had to change that pivot. So.
Can you repeat the question?
The question was whether or not you've had to pivot, or has there been a time you've had to pivot to better meet the needs of your consumers?
Yeah, so for pivoting, we continue to expand as we pay attention to the way that our customers are using the product. But one thing that I'll say is, we started as an e-commerce brand by thinking specifically about the business and strategy for growing and sustaining a business, right? E-commerce is an incredibly expensive business. There's marketing, there's so much that goes into running an e-commerce business. But when you're working on the B2B side, typically, at least for us, the margins are far more significant. And so less of a pivot, just understanding opportunities for new focus. And so knowing that we could utilize revenue that's generated from our B2B clients to help sustain and grow e-commerce. So it's thinking strategically about where do we put our focus at any given time so that we can fund the growth of each area in the rest of our business, if that makes sense.
Yes. So this is the last question I have for you all, and then I have like a random prompt to round us out with this panel. But I promise I won't put you two on the spot. So the last question is for any entrepreneur in the audience that is just getting started with building a wellness company. What would be your one piece of advice to them that you wish you got when you were starting?
Ask for help. Ask for help. I say this all the time when people ask me that question. I've been an entrepreneur for many, many years. It is incredibly lonely being a founder and being an entrepreneur. It's isolating. Sometimes you're building something that people may not all the way understand. Sometimes your friend circle, I have an incredibly supportive friend circle, but our professional experiences are just very different. And they have high-powered jobs with large expense budgets. I don't have that. I have my company, and I have to budget very specifically around that. But when you bring people into what you're doing and allow them to help you and see you for where you are and what needs you have, even if it's as simple as needing an extra hand to come into the warehouse and prep flowers, right? I'm happy to have that, but you have to ask those questions. You have to let people show up for you. Because one, it helps to relieve the burden from you, but two, whether we want to admit it or not, we need that support. And we want to feel seen, and we want to feel supported. So my number one piece of advice is to ask for help. You don't have to do it alone.
My thing is just to be around like-minded people, be around positive people, be around a community who actually supports you. And just don't ask for help. I mean, don't be afraid to ask for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help. And just continue to do something. Continue to throw stuff at the wall. Even if it doesn't stick, just continue to throw something at the wall and just make sure something is going to pop. Just making sure that you understand, like, this is our purpose, but don't be afraid to try new things.
And know that customer. Just know your customer over and over again. Study them. Where are they going to be? Where are they trying to be, where are they trying to go, and you make sure you're on that same life path with them.
It's all amazing advice for budding entrepreneurs. So my prompt, I told you it's not going to be too spicy. I'm going to say this phrase, and I want you to tell me the first thing that comes to mind for each of you, and then we'll round out our panel. So the phrase is Black wellness. What's the first thing that comes to mind to you as I say that? Black wellness.
Moving from a space of or evolving from a space of pursuing generational wealth and instead looking how we can achieve generational rest.
I love that. Ooh, love that.
I lost my word that quick because I thought she was going to Black wellness matters.
Love that.
Black wellness, to push the needle forward, and change lives and change families as well.
Powerful. Thank you, Talia. Thank you, Daryl. Thank you, Dr. Cooper. I hope you all got a lot of gems from today's discussion, and thank you for tuning in.